This segment is sponsored by Lion Coffee.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Exceptional Conservative Show live from the nation's capital. I'm your host, the Exceptional One, Kenneth McClenton. Listen, when you ask a bunch of kids at your local school, where does food come from? Do not be shocked and appalled that the answer is so simplistic. All the food comes from the grocery store. And where do they get the cow and meat from? And where do they get the pork? Where do they get the beef from? Where do they get the fish? Oh, it must be in the back of the store, along with all the fruits and vegetables. That's where we get it from. The children of today have no cognizant value of agricultural life. Truly don't. The agrarian life was squashed by Franklin Delano Roosevelt's New Deal. Yeah, you can take a look at the facts on that one. You see, the New Deal ushered in something called price controls and literally destroyed not only the quote-unquote white farmer, but devastated the black farmer of the South. Sure, we have probably as much land today being used for the development of food and agriculture. However, there is a smaller base of farmers today, especially small farm owners. Much of the land is owned by corporate entities which produce the food and livestock of our day. But it was something about the heart of a farmer that if we had it in our politicians, we might be able to achieve something other than socialism. Because no man who awakens at 4 o'clock in the morning, and people talk about how the military gets things done more before 6 a.m., can you imagine about a farm life where you have to do all that you have to do before getting the kids off to school at 7 in the morning on that yellow bus and then getting back into the fields? Can you imagine what that is like? For many of us, we can't conceive it. So I want to go right now, and I've already shared it with our chat roll at TheExceptionalConservativeShow.com. You can easily go into our chat roll just by clicking on. But there is a poem called The Farmer's Poem. Paul Harvey made it very, very poignant in his message, So God Made a Farmer, back in 1978. But here is the oath, or the ode poem to a farmer. It goes, I believe a man's greatest possession is his dignity, and that no calling bestows this man abundantly than farming. I believe hard work and honest sweat are the building blocks of a person's character. I believe that farming, despite hardships and disappointments, is the most honest and honorable way a man can spend his days on this earth. I believe farming nurtures the close family ties that make life rich in many ways that money can't buy. I believe my children are learning values that will last a lifetime and can be learned in no other way. I believe farming provides education for life that no other occupation teaches so much about birth, growth, and maturity in such a variety of ways. I believe many of the best things in life are indeed free. The splendor of a sunrise, the rapture of a wide open spaces, the exhilarating sight of your land greening each spring. I believe that true happiness comes from watching your crops ripen in the field, your children grow tall in the sun, your whole family feel the pride that springs from their shared experience. I believe that by my toil, I am giving more to the world than I am taking from it, an honor that does not come to all men. I believe that my life will be measured ultimately by what I have done for my fellow man, and by this standard, I fear no judgment. I believe when a man grows old and sums up his days, he should be able to stand tall and feel pride in the life he's lived. I believe in farming because it makes all this possible. The Farmer's Creed, ladies and gentlemen. When you believe in these particular lines, you can understand why over 100 years ago, Frank I. Mann, an Illinois corn farmer, wrote it this way. I believe in a permanent agriculture, a soil that will grow richer rather than poorer from year to year. I believe in 100 bushel corn and in 50 bushel wheat, and I shall not be satisfied with anything less. I believe that the only good wood is a dead wood, and that a clean farm is as important as a clean conscience. I believe in the farm boy and in the farm girl, the farmer's best crops, the future's best hope. I believe in the farm woman and will do all in my power to make her life easier and happier. I believe in the country school that prepares for country life and a country church that teaches its people to love deeply and live honorably. I believe in community spirit, a pride in home and neighbors, and I will do my part to make my community the best in the state. I believe in the farmer. I believe in farm life. I believe in the inspiration of the open country. I am proud to be a farmer, and I will try earnestly to be worthy of the name. To be worthy of the name. Such an ending. For how many of us try to live our lives so that we're worthy of the name of just Jesus Christ? But to be worthy of a man who understands what it means to be tilling the soil of the land, sometimes by tractor, sometimes behind a horse or mule, or even ox. To understand what it's like to remove manure on a daily basis from the lives of animals for which you care. It is a tough life. It's not an easy life. Not everybody can be a farmer, just like not everyone can be the CEO of Bloomberg LLP. But we become disingenuous and condescending when we say to ourselves that because a man uses his hands in the soil of our land, that he's no better than I, who must get in my very expensive car and drive an hour to work, passing papers upon a desk, penciling and signaling things along the way, taking emails or typing emails and doing all of those very most important things of commerce. And what are you doing at lunch today? And on your way in, what did you stop for breakfast? And by 3 o'clock in the afternoon, are you thinking about dinner? A man once said, you'll need a doctor once. You'll need a preacher once. You'll probably need a policeman at least once in your life. But you know, a farmer you need every single day, 3 times a day. You see, even the dead man, before he parts, needs the farmer for his last meal. And even the conceived child, when born, must receive the nourishment of milk made of soy. You see, the farmer is in our lives almost from the moment that we're conceived. In fact, is in our lives from the moment that we are conceived. And yet today's farmers face some of the greatest challenges on the face of the earth. And we overlook those challenges simply because, you know what? Look at him. He's in that dirt. Oh, oh, God, he's got to move the manure. Oh, look at, I'm not going to invite him to my party. Who wants him there? He smells badly at the end of the day. Well, some of you all have a character that smells badly throughout the course of every day. And was subject to the rules of farming, would be removed every single morning from the stalls. Ladies and gentlemen, our farmers do face a crisis in America.
In the United States, food seems plentiful. Around the country, grocery stores are fully stocked, produce and other goods are relatively cheap, and most people have easy access to a wide variety of foods. But what's visible on the surface doesn't show the whole picture. More than 42 million Americans suffer from food insecurity, and the farming industry is on the decline. So, is it possible that America is facing a food crisis? Well, on the one hand, the United States does have a uniquely advantageous position in the world regarding food supply. Americans spend less than 10% of their household income on food, while in other countries like Cameroon or Kenya, it can be closer to 50%. Part of the reason for such cheap food is due to trade deals like the North American Free Trade Agreement, or NAFTA, which removed most taxes on goods coming into the US from Canada and Mexico. Cheaper labor and lower regulations in Mexico ultimately means cheaper goods. Compared to 20 years ago, Americans eat twice as much fruit and 3 times as many vegetables grown just outside the country. But in an effort to drive the food economy, many believe that the American farmer has been left behind, prompting over-reliance on foreign sources of food.
American farming is in crisis.
That's Sophie Ackoff, the National Field Director for the National Young Farmers Coalition, a grassroots network of young farmers fighting for the future of farming.
Only 6% of our farmers in the US are under the age of 35, and young people who are starting to farm are facing huge obstacles, like accessing affordable farmland, accessing credit and capital that they need to succeed.
Just since 2014, the U.S. Department of Agriculture has reported a loss of about 1 million acres of farmland, translating to roughly 18,000 fewer university graduates in areas like agriculture and the environment than the industry actually needs over the next 5 years. Young farmers like Leanna Mulvihill recognize this as a problem.
It's important for young people like me to get into farming because if young people aren't pursuing careers in agriculture, we won't continue to have small farms. It'll radically change how our food works if we're not producing it ourselves. That's a problem.
At the same time, other countries like China have been doubling down on their farming industry. From 2001 to 2008, China invested roughly $4 billion in its agricultural research and development. And today, some estimate the number of Chinese farmers to nearly equal the total population of the United States. But the U.S. is keen to attract young student loan forgiveness to new farmers, adding to the current list of forgivable occupations such as teaching and law enforcement.
We have a campaign called Farming as Public Service. Farmers don't see themselves necessarily as public servants. They want to be recognized as entrepreneurs, but we don't see this as mutually exclusive. We believe farmers can produce good for their community, steward the land, and feed their communities, and at the same time be profitable businesses.
As the populations of both the US and the world continue rising, it's coupled with an increasingly turbulent system of climate change, creating droughts, floods, and other farming disasters. This means that there's potential.
25 years, 2/3 of farmer-owned land in the US will transition ownership. So if there aren't young farmers ready and willing to take on this land, we'll see that land transition out of agriculture, potentially sold to corporate farms or bought by non-farm owners.
Without young farmers filling in for a huge number of retiring farmers, more and more food production will move out of the country, leaving the U.S. at the mercy of its neighbors. Running a farm on your own is hard work, let alone doing it in your 20s. The Seeker Stories team visited Leanna on her farm to find out what inspired her to change her career path from engineering to farming.
I do not come from a farming background. It took me a while to have the courage to be a farmer. Without the loan forgiveness program, financing the farm would have been more challenging. I'm very thankful to be a part of it, and it definitely cushioned my first couple of years of farming.
Thanks for watching Seeker Daily. Like and
Ladies and gentlemen, our farmers are suffering. It is not because of trade policies with China. No. We feed the world, baby. When we come back, we're going to talk about the statistics that make up farming in the world, at least in the United States of America, as we feed the world. But we're also going to talk about the issues that our farmers face on a daily basis, including the rise of suicide amongst farmers. Yes, there is a need for us to begin to love the farmer because, believe it or not, the farmer first loved us. We'll be back with more of the best in urban conservative talk. I'm yours truly, Ken McClenton, the host of The Exceptional Conservative Show and the president of TECN TV. Remember, this is election year 2020. This is TECN TV, and we are a republic, not a democracy. We'll be back with more of the best in urban conservative talk right after these messages.
Hi guys, so I am back with another haul.